a waking life and dreaming life. She'd been waking for a long time, always waking. It seemed like centuries. Waking never end. And yet, perhaps it was just the early part of waking still, even though it seemed to have gone on forever and ever, and a long, long time. Did morning never end? Perhaps, if only it was just beginning. But it seemed to have been a very long morning anyway. Who could say? The day ahead would be long. Then the night that had passed was very long too. Even if it hadn't fully yielded to the day, it was still so early. Though not that early. The night had only lasted a millennium or so. And perhaps more. Had it not? Or was it all just a dream? A bad memory? Just a dream of it all? So the day before was many millenniums ago? Or was that just all a long dream? Was a day 1,000 years? 25,000 or 1,000,000? Or was it all a long dream? Supposing spring or summer, or even autumn or winter, could each last a long time. Maybe years, maybe decades, centuries. Who knew? Millenniums. It could be a long, long period of time, and not hours, or days, or weeks, or months. Then in each life, we will experience the world ever in a greater area of that season, just in that season of the cycle only. Yet if we all returned many times, then perhaps we would experience different seasons of earthly growth or earthly shrinking, of a growing earth and decaying earth, or a dormant internal earth. There were so many mental guides, idealistic coaches and gurus even, who wanted to think for you about your very many different situations, your issues, the ones that we've been struggling with. Many wanted to think with you, not just for you though. Expected input and questioned you about different strategies or methods tried before already, or queried whether fears were well-founded or whether desires were too. Many mindful guides had great insights, thoughtfulness and advice, and could think about our problems differently than we could ourselves, and wouldn't be as biased as we would be ourselves sometimes, as those that know us as well. Nor especially ourselves, since we can all deceive ourselves or be mistaken. Yet so too can the thoughtful guides, those of others that don't know our situation so well, even if they are more objective and less emotionally driven and less biased from the situation. They may come up with holistic or integrative or even cautious or liberating or fun or educational ideas. Yet they too aren't perfect people. However well practiced as guides they may be and experienced, however considered and relevant that they may well be to the confused and struggling thinker. Yes, they may well be. There are many great guides that would try and encourage us on. The thoughtful that would try to encourage us how to discern in different ways, not to only think about them more and for them, but to implore us to think more about others' issues too, and their particular issues and the circumstances they were in. The guide thinks, and what the guide thinks is important. Yet a person that thinks for us must also feel for us too, and want us to feel for ourselves as well as thinking for ourselves, and to feel for others as well as thinking for others too. And that the guide must focus on our feelings and try to reconcile those and complement those with our thoughts too. They must explore our genuine feelings and examine why we felt those different things. The emotional guides Similarly, as the idealistic guides, or the idea guides, often felt for people, empathised over people, were sentimental, had strong feelings about the subjects, about their issues. They ideally went to feel with someone. Yet can they remotely feel sensitive about the personal issues? Feel angry or frustrated, or feel sad, or feel joyful, or even feel confused? But can they do that at such distance until they've properly gotten to know the person well? Yet the emotional guide could equally feel very joyful, elated even sometimes, about meeting others, and at them. They could feel happy for them, or be content with them, could feel positively inspired by them, could feel trusted and confided in, could even have felt a great desire and in love with them, those that they were guiding, or in love with something about them, if not all of them. There was such a wild range of different emotions that a guide might have for subjects, and also the subject would have for guides too. The emotional, sentimental advisors were subjected to the different emotions. It could hurt as well as heal the heart, as all sentient guides on their voyage through life knew well. Just as all mental, idealistic guides, thoughtful guides, they were subjected to a wide range of mentally challenging and enigmatic ideas and ideologies that were struggled to work through and understand what they were and how they related to each other. Just so, the emotional guides had a struggle to explore what the different emotions really were and how they also related to each other within this emotional landscape that they'd be venturing through. So many often in the unknown, mysterious, emotional landscapes. But all thought and no feeling was a very robotic kind of life. All feeling and no thought was a very animal kind of life, though. All feeling thoughts or thoughtful feelings are really rational animal kind of life. The idealistic animal kind of life. There were shocking people I encountered in a dream world. It was at a dream bar. It was closed to reality, so real people were not really allowed there, only dream people in the dream world. They hosted a dream therapy group. They would do in a dream. And there was there a ghost support group, with only ghosts that had died allowed to attend, although sometimes a living person could attend if they were respectful. They wouldn't hear the dream speakers, of course. One ghostly man claimed it was his third time as a victim. He'd been a murder victim several times. He'd been a triple suicider too, he claimed. And that had shocked many of the ghost support group. Surprised and shocked that he'd killed himself 3 different occasions and a triple suicider. It was quite unusual at the ghost support group to actually meet someone that would talk openly about that. Yet to comfort them, or perhaps because it was true, he claimed to have lived in other 6 lives, and that those triple suicide lives and the other 3 murder lives, that those weren't at all his different lives at all. He had 6 other lives, the other ghost had claimed. And then he'd added it as a relief, or inner feeling. Perhaps he'd added that he probably suffered more when he had lived longer, even if he'd achieved a lot more too. And so, with much more suffering in the longer life, those were harder to talk about than even the triple suicides that he'd had. So maybe he was spared a dozen or so, many decades of slowly advancing and more multiple problems in those other lives that were much shorter and abruptly ended. Yes, there were a lot of upsides to not being in the world as well as the downsides, and the sorrow at losing touch with the world, and all the long drawn out absences that lay ahead. Still, as another revolving door case had suggested, it would be the others that felt and thought of the absences. They could only dream of them until they'd be sent off somewhere else. And their mourning, as well as their love, would be wiped from their mind and their heart, and consumed only then with surviving in their new world, in a strange world of giant, mysterious proportions that they knew not. Many of the ghosts at the Ghost Support Group had claimed to have been killed in a whole variety of different ways, though. Or even just to have died by accident or illness. Quite often, too, the ghost had said about. Yet even though they had suffered and could not talk of much of it, had they really died and only just left and departed the body for the dream place and the dream counselling group? One departed to every night. Was a person in a coma or a person asleep, dead? No, they would be alive, but just elsewhere. Alive in their dreams, yes, if not alive in the world, not alive to their family or to their friends or to reality, but still alive in their dream and experiencing their dream emotions, doing whatever they dreamed of, whether it was dream support groups or other things. We don't think of dreamers as dead people, since they always return. Yet neither are they living in reality either. Yet they potentially can do again in the future, so are neither dead nor living. All people have their dream worlds that we spend up to a third of our lives, or our deaths, whatever you call them, within. So we spend a large proportion, a large amount of our time is spent in the dream worlds. Dream stories are only really a small window into the person's vast dream world. And anyone's thoughts and feelings are complex and alien enough for anyone to get lost in and struggle with. One can be lost in one's own dream world, in a vast domain, never mind getting lost and found in others. You find yourself lost in your own dreams. Your dream planet, your dream friends, your dream opponents, dream houses, dream places, and so on. We know much, yet have many more mysteries, vast amounts of mysteries within our own dream worlds. So how much more mysterious and unknown and alien are other people's dream worlds, therefore? Just as our own world views, our ideas about the world, we have so much more knowledge about our own beliefs, our ideas of the world. Yet still we have mysteries about our own views, and we're not sure about what to think about other friends or family or society or the world. We have many of these own mysteries ourselves, mysterious ideas we have about the world, and doubtful ideas too, whether they are obvious or known, or concealed or obscured, or just unknown. As the mother obscures and carries a mystery within her, so the thinker does within himself, so that the thinker's thoughts are pregnant with something equally mysterious to himself and enigmatic. For example, what do you think about the truth? How do you arrive at that conclusion? To think that. Why do you think it's true? What is truth? How can you find the truth? Or even, what do you think about love? Those kind of questions that can never be answered totally and fully, that always have some outstanding mysteries remaining unyielding. We have many thoughts and feelings about ideals, about many dreams too. How do you think lovingly? Or think for lovers? How do you feel lovingly? How do you feel for lovers? We can't easily answer as if we totally know all the answers, and there aren't many mysteries about those. How to just think and feel for many others, or even a few, is a struggle with other kinds of needs and abilities that we all have. Our thoughts and feelings are often challenged and nourished too, as are our dreams. with dreams that do challenge us in our emotions, as well as bringing us comfort and vitalizing us too.